Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, we'll be learning how to cut and sew this simple Queen Anne neckline corset dress with a basque waistline. And this video is very detailed, very beginners friendly, and very easy to follow. So this is what the back of the dress looks like. So I made use of about 2 yards of Ankara fabric, about half yard of crepe fabric, and half yard of lace fabric. So guys, don't forget to watch this video to the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. So if you find this video useful, if you find it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, put on your notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post new video, and share with your loved ones. So let's jump right into the tutorial. So we're going to start by drafting on the pattern paper, and we're going to start with the upper part of this dress. So I have my pattern paper here, I have my tape rule, my rulers, my marker, and my scissors. So let's go ahead now to draft the pattern. So I have my pattern paper here, and it's in a fold of 2. And the first thing you want to do is to draw out a starting line at the upper part of your paper. So this line is going to be the shoulder line where you'll be taking all your vertical measurements. And then I'll place my tape rule on that line now and mark my shoulder to my bust point. So mark your shoulder to your bust point. Mine is 11 inches. My shoulder to my under bust is 14.5 inches. And my shoulder to my half length is 16.5 inches, and my shoulder to my hip line is 23 inches. So mark your own appropriate measurements and go ahead to extend the lines this way. So after extending the lines, let's label it together. The first line is the shoulder line, this is the bust point, this is the under bust, this is the half length, and this is the hip line. So the next thing to do is to come over to this shoulder line and mark your shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2. So mine is 8 inches. And from that line, come down by your round armhole measurements divided by 2. Mine is 9 inches. And then go ahead to join the lines together. So connect the 2 points together and further extend the line this way. So this new line is going to be your chest line. So most times your chest line is always 2 inches above the bust point. So the next thing we want to do is to mark the neckline. So the wideness of the neckline I worked with is 3 inches. Because it's a Queen Anne neckline, you can do 3.5 inches at most. And then come over to this armhole line and come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. So connect that 1 inch now down to meet the 3 inches you marked, or 3.5 inches. And then come over to this line and take the midpoint of the line, which is 4 inches for me. Come in again by 0.5 inches. And then on this chest line, the new line you just drew, mark your round bust measurements divided by 4. So mine is 10.5 inches. And then I'll take my curved ruler and connect these 3 points together to form the armhole curve. So connect the 3 points together this way, just as you can see me doing in the video. So after connecting, this is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to mark the dart measurements. So to get your dart line, divide your nipple to nipple measurements by 2. So mine is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches on all the lines. So mark whatever you got on all the lines this way. And then when you're done marking, use your ruler to connect the points together, forming a straight line. And then I'll go over now to the under bust line and take 1 inch on this side towards the center front, and I'll take 1.5 inches on the other side. So if you're on the small size, you can just do 1 inch on both sides. And I'll come to the lower part and take 1 inch on both sides, the hip line. I took 1 inch on both sides, and then I'll connect the points together this way. So after doing that, come over to the bust point, the bust line, and come down by 0.5 inches or 1 inch. And then after coming down, I'm going to take my curved ruler and just connect the points this way. I'll connect the points this way. So after connecting, go ahead to measure what you have in between the bust line and the under bust. So just what I'm going to do here. So measure what you have in between the bust line and the under bust. So I have 3.5 inches. So I'm going to replace that 3.5 inches above the bust line. So from the bust line, I'm going to come up by 3.5 inches. So whatever you got, come up by that same number. So I'm going to connect the points together this way. So after connecting, I'll come over to this new line I just marked and take 1 inch on both sides of the line. So I'll mark 1 inch on both sides of the line this way. So a small size can do 0.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to just use my curved ruler again to connect it down to meet the bust point just above the bust line. So after doing that, this is what you should have. So the next one we want to do is to form the cups. So to form your cups, come over to this bust line and come up by 2 inches. So that 2 inches is still going to be your chest line. So if you measure from your bust point to your chest line, it is 2 inches. So come up by 2 inches now. And then after doing that, the next thing is to determine how much space you want between your cups. So for me, I want 1 inch between my cups. I'm going to mark 0.5 inches because the paper is in a fold of 2. So when I open it up, I'm going to have 1 inch between my cups. But if you want 2 inches between your cups, you're going to mark 1 inch from that point. So I'll mark 0.5 inches now. So from that 0.5 inches that I marked, I'm going to connect it now down to meet the dart leg this way. So take your ruler and connect the points together. So after connecting that point, I'll come over to the lower part and also connect it down to meet the dart on the under bust. So I'll use my curved ruler to just curve it out. So I have created the cup 1. So let's go ahead to create the cup 2. So for the cup 2, come over to this armhole area. So from this bust point that I marked, I'm going to measure what I have between these 2 points. So for me, I have 3 inches, and I'm going to take the midpoint of that point, so which is 1.5 inches for me. So from that 1.5 inches, I'm going to connect it down to meet the dart on the under bust. So just follow exactly what I'm doing here. So connect the midpoint down to meet the dart on the under bust using your curved ruler. And then I'll connect the upper one as well. So go ahead to connect your own this way. So after connecting, this is what we have. So we have our cup 1 and our cup 2. So the next thing we want to do is to form the Queen Anne neckline. So come over to this part of your cup and take 1 inch. So you can do 2 inches depending on how wide you want the neckline to be. So for me, I just took 1 inch from my cup 2. And then I'll take my ruler and connect that 1 inch down to meet the neck width I marked earlier, the 3 inches neck width I marked earlier. So this is what we have. So you should have something that looks like this after doing yours. So after connecting the 2 points together, this is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to place the round body measurements on the pattern. So on the bust line, I'll place my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10.5 inches. And then I'll add the 2 inches that is on my cup. So I'll measure what I have here. So I have 2 inches here, and I'll add it to the bust measurement, making a total of 12.5 inches. So go ahead to mark your appropriate measurement. And on the half length line, I'm going to mark my round waist measurement divided by 4, which is 9 inches. And I'll add 2.5 inches for that, making 11.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect the points together. So go ahead to add your seam allowance. So for mine, I made use of 1 inch. So I'm going to add 1 inch to the initial measurement and connect the points together. So to form the basque effect, I'm going to come over to this half length line. So I want a depth of 4 inches, but I'm going to mark 5 inches because by the time I cut it out, one is going to appear shorter than the other because of that intake. So I'm going to come down by 5 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect that 5 inches down to meet the side this way. So after connecting, this is what we have. So this is basically all for the front part of this dress. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So watch closely to know the parts that I'm going to keep and the parts I'm going to discard. So I'm going to cut out the yoke now. I'll separate the yoke from the cups this way and then cut it out. So that is the part we are going to keep. So I'm going to cut out the remaining part of the yoke. So let's go ahead now to cut out the cups. So that is the cup 1 and the center front. So this is the cup 2 that we are cutting out. I'm going to discard all of that. and just retain the cup. So after cutting out, this is what we have. So let's go ahead to label the parts. So this upper part is the yoke, this is the cup 1, the cup 2. So labeling is very important so that you don't mix up your patterns. These are the sides and this is the center front. So I'll set this part aside. So when we try to put these two together now, you can see that it is one part is longer than the other. So I'm going to just trim out that extra 1 inch to get my 4 inch. So I'm going to just extend this point down to meet the other side this way and cut it out. So I'll be left with my 4 inches that I initially wanted. So this is all for the front part of this dress. So let me set it aside while we work on the back panel. So for the back panel, I'm going to head to mark my basic vertical measurement, and I'm cutting on a single paper. So when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'm going to cut out 2 pieces of it. So the back panel is having a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So this is my shoulder to my bust point, and this is my shoulder to my half length, 16.5 inches. So come over to this shoulder point now and mark your shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches, and then I'll come down by my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 9 inches, just like I did with the front part. I'll connect the points together this way, and then I'll further extend the lines. So after extending, the next thing is to mark the neckline measurement. So I'm going to use the same neck width I used for the front, which is 3 inches. So I'm going to mark 3 inches, and I will come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So whatever neck width you used for your front panel, that is the same thing you will use for the back. So connect the 2 points together this way. So come over now to this chest line and place your round bust measurements divided by 4. Mine is 10.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to mark it. So remember to take all your measurements on that line before the zipper allowance. So come over to this point and mark the midpoint, and then connect the 2 points together this way. So after connecting the points together, the next thing to do is to mark the depth of the neckline, and for me I made use of 2 inches. So I'm going to come down by 2 inches and use my ruler to connect the points together. So after doing that, the next thing is to place the dart. So come over to the bust line and place your nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. So mine is 4 inches. So before I do that, I'm going to just extend the chest line this way. So I'll mark that 4 inches on the chest line and on the bust point, and then I'll connect all the points together. So after doing that, I'll come over now to this point and take 0.5 inches on both sides, and then I'll connect it down to meet the chest line. So after connecting, this is what we have. So I'll be having a keyhole style at the back neckline. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then from that 1 inch, I'll form a curve down to meet this that point this way. So this is totally optional. You can make your back panel covered if you want. So this is what we have. So the next thing is to place the round body measurements. So on the bust line, I'll place my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10.5 inches, and add 0.5 inches for that. And on this point, I'll mark my round waist measurements divided by 4, which is 9.5 inches, and I'll add the 1 inch for that. So I'll go ahead to connect the points together. So after connecting, I'll add 1 inch all the way down for my seam allowance, just like I did with the front part, and then connect it together. So after doing that, the next thing is to remove the zipper bulging allowance at the back. So I'll come over now to this waistline and take 1 inch. So I want to eliminate 0.5 inches out of the 1.5 inches. And then I'll connect it all the way up. So this is going to help your back panel sit very well without any bulge at the back. So connect it out this way. So I'm going to cut out that 0.5 inches I just marked out. So this is basically all for the back panel. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So I'll go ahead to label this upper part as the yoke, and it's going to stop here. So I'll extend this part as the button allowance for the back. So I'm going to be using the crepe fabric to do the yoke and the Ankara fabric for the lower part. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So I'll first of all separate the yoke from the lower bodies, and then I'll go ahead to cut out the yoke. So after cutting the yoke, I'll go ahead now to open up the dart area for the lower back. I'll cut out the zipper bulge allowance and open up the dart. So when I'm cutting this part, I'm just going to cut it as one piece. I'll join it together this way to cut on my fabric as one piece. So let's go ahead to cut out the patterns on the fabric. So these are the materials you will need to make this dress. So I have my patterns here already. This is my Ankara fabric, and this is the lace fabric for the sleeve. I have about half yard here, and this is my lining. This is the crepe fabric for the yoke and for the basque area. This is my sewable boning, and this is my zipper. So I'll go ahead now to use my pattern to cut out these fabrics, and then I will show you guys what it looks like and the next thing to do. So let's go ahead now to cut out the fabric. So I have gone ahead to use my patterns to cut out the fabric, and this is what it looks like. So for the lower part of the front panel, I made use of the black crepe, and I also made use of that crepe fabric for the yoke of the back panel. So the remaining part is the Ankara fabric. So I also cut out lining pieces for each of the fabric, each of the patterns. I cut out lining pieces and I added half an inch all the way around this because I'll be turning over with my lining and for the joining allowance. So you can see the lining I cut out for all the fabrics. I also added half an inch to the lower parts, the cup area, and the joining allowance also. And for the cups as well, I added half an inch all the way around it because I'll be stitching it to the bodies, the lower bodies. I also have my breast pad cut out here already that I will use to pad the cup since I'm not making use of a ready-made cup. So this half an inch all around the cup is going to be for the joining of the cups together and also joining to the lower bodies. So for the back panel, I also added half an inch for turning over with the lining. So you can see I have 2 pieces of the yoke and 2 pieces of the lining, and I added half an inch all the way around it for turning over and for joining to the lower bodies, as you can see. So I'll go ahead now to remove the patterns from the front panel. I'll set the back panels aside. I'll remove the patterns on the front panel and I'll show you guys how to join it together. So guys, in my next video I'll be showing you guys how to join the fabrics together to achieve this beautiful dress. So I don't want this video to be too long, that is why I did not join everything together. So put on your notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post the sewing part of this tutorial. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share with your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.